really want to become an architect. I talked to Vincent Corder, who was famous, one of the three Corder brothers, who was a designer, and he advised me to study architecture if I wanted to become a film designer, even though he came from a painting background. And that's why I, started at the Bartlett as an external student, and I was articled with a firm of architects. And then by a stroke of luck, my sister, who was working in publicity at the American embassy, a man came in and said, "We are making an American movie, the first American movie in England, and we need some props, American props." So she said, "Well, I've got a brother who draws rather well, and he's trying to get in the film industry." So they said, "Well, why doesn't he see our art director?" And that's how I got in, I wanted to learn as much as I could about art direction. So it came reasonably natural to me. And I got on pretty quickly, and I was also lucky with some of the films I was working on. I was working with Oliver Metzel on Queen of Spades. I was one of the art directors on Around the World in 80 Days, Mike Todd. And then I did a very important film for me, which was The Trials of Oscar Wilde with Peter Finch. And it was the first time that the film critics noticed me. And after that, of course, I started the first Bond, Dr. No. It was a very cheap sort of whodunit film. It's all timing and a question of luck. My luck was that it was a very small budget film, and we had locations in Jamaica, and I had to come back to design the settings at Pinewood, and there was nobody there from the film company to advise me, so I decided that it was a good opportunity to do the sort of settings that I felt comfortable with, and at the same time I felt we'd been seeing so many films, and some of them good, but none of them that reflected our age of technology and computers and so on. So I came up with this idea of the ceiling piece with a circle in it, like a big grill. And I built a set on a platform, slightly in perspective, and it was one of the sort of bare sets with just a door, a chair, the voice of Dr. No, and a table in foreground with the tarantula in a cage. And it became very much a famous set, and a lot of critics, and it cost nothing, you see, and a lot of critics said it's really that set which started the whole feeling of the Future Bond pictures. It was not at all like other films made, but it was a very successful way of making these films. So after Dr. No, I did Strangelove. Kubrick had just come over from America, And he was going to do Dr. Strangelove, and he rang me up here, and he said, "Can you come over? I'm staying at the Westbury Hotel. I want to talk to you. I think you can do my next film." And obviously I learned a great deal of how he thinks. He also learned how to take me in. And of course, we had a very close personal relationship, which was very useful because I was the first one to know if he changed his mind on something. And every time he changed his mind, it was for the better. So it was a very exciting experience, and in hindsight, I think, probably one of the most successful sets I designed. The most important, obviously, and the biggest was in the war room. Because remember that the actors felt great in that surrounding. It was a sort of surrealistic, really, because it is probably an example today when we talk about computer-generated images and so on, when actors have to stand in front of screens, no sets, their technique will change or has changed a lot, because I grew up with actors who needed their surroundings to give a performance and to give, you know, it was very exciting. I used to doodle a lot, you know, on pieces of paper, and very often a shape or a design or a doodle excited me to such an extent that I knew I'd come up with something, you know. It was almost like having an orgasm, if you like to know. And after Strangelove, and I think another Bond, Kubrick wanted me to work on 2001, The Space Odyssey, whatever it was. And I wasn't immediately not very happy about it, because I know that he had worked for a year with experts from NASA, and I felt I had no artistic base to argue with him, because he would immediately turn on that, but these people say this, that, and so on, you know. So I didn't do that, and I really didn't want to do Barry Lyndon either, because we were disorganized. You see, he didn't have a script writer. And so Stanley himself had to do a lot of writing at night time. He got every painter and every book on the 18th century. Hogarth, Rawlinson, Gainsborough, and he was very proud of himself that he knew about it. But I think Stanley was at his best when he invented himself the photography or the staging of a scene, because he had a fantastic eye. Whereas if you try to imitate a Hogarth or a painter, you always know it is an imitation of somebody. And so we spent literally weeks and months to go through the period. Because also in a strange way, he was more attracted to the Victorian era. And I had big fights with him because he liked the Victorian wallpaper. And I said, you can't shoot that, Stan, it's Victorian. How do you know? I said, I do know. And I was continuously looking for location, because once he was in Ireland, he decided he wanted Germany there too. So now you have to find Germany and Ireland. So I slept very little. And in daytime, I was chasing around trying to find new locations and so on. It was exhausting, you know. And when something didn't work for him, a location he liked it, can't find another one, you know. So, and I had a call during the night and said, you've just won an Oscar, you know, which was quite exciting, you know. But it was not a happy experience for me, and I became very ill on it. You know. I think things have changed, but the basic ideas and talent remains the same, you see. You know, I read a script, and if I thought I could improve a certain scene, or I talked to the director about it and so on, and I don't think that changes. That still remains the same. If you get offered a subject and so on, and you discuss it first with the director, and you get his ideas and his concept, but then you might come up in certain instances with your ideas and concept. And very often that's the best way to make a film, you know, if all the crew, I mean the creative crew, the cameraman, the designer, and the director see eye to eye, you can also experiment with new ideas and so on. And I've always found in the past that if the picture is a happy picture, it normally turns out to be a very good picture too.